Hello and welcome. I'm here with the lead water filtration expert at IntegriPure Newcastle and the host of the documentary Newcastles Tap Water. And we're also here with John. He was the producer of this documentary and also the lead. Where did you get all this information for the documentary? What?
I suppose that would be a good question for me to answer because I got most of the information. So a lot of the information actually came from the annual reports of the sort of government entities or municipal entities themselves. So we went hunting for as much information as we could, and we wanted it to be factual. You know, we wanted it to be true. We didn't just want to pull some sensational stuff from some articles or from Facebook posts or people's opinions. We wanted to get as many facts as we could, and so we looked at like the Newcastle local municipality's annual report, Utugela's annual report, the Department of Water and Sanitation's annual reports. There were a couple of other documents that we looked at, but ultimately it was sort of those annual reports and reports of that nature that we ultimately got most of our information from. And then obviously we also got some information from Mr. Mtseneka himself, which he presented in an interview that we eventually got with him. And I'd say that's probably the bulk of everything in the documentary comes from one of those two sources.
Okay. So, yeah, well, where can people, if they want to go check this information for themselves, check if we're not talking nonsense, can they get it? Well, it's probably public information, so yeah.
Yeah, for sure. So most of the information is available online. I just Googled and searched the internet like crazy and stumbled upon a lot of the stuff, you know. So if people want to know something, the information's all there. They've just got to go looking for it. But the challenge is that these documents are heavily convoluted. It's like 600 pages of information. And it's necessary because, you know, a municipality is over a lot of services. It's roads, it's electricity, it's water, blah, blah, blah. So you've got this whole document that covers a whole bunch of stuff, and a portion of it is water. Interestingly enough, though, most of those documents, the larger chunk of it is dedicated to water because it's such a fundamental human right to have access to drinking water. And so it's one of the most important functions our government and municipalities have, is to make sure that people live, right? And they can't live without water. So yeah, we just Googled most of it and found it on like the government websites and some other pages here and there where, for instance, draft annual reports were hosted. And then I would read the draft annual report and a couple of weeks later find the actual report. And very often the information correlates one to another. So Google is your friend. Or get an interview with Mr. Mtseneka. That also works quite well.
Oh, is it?
Yeah.
Okay, sure. That's,
Can I override you here with a question? Just for interest's sake, if you had to, so uit die heup uit, how many pages of information would you guess you had to go through?
There was a lot of pages of information. So if I had to thumbsuck, I'd say at least 2,000. At least.
Small print.
Yeah. Because the thing is, I'd say 3 of the reports that I went through that I got a bulk of the information from were at least 600 pages long.
sure, and that's just facts.
Yeah, it's all
And
the annual
data,
reports from the
information.
municipality or from Utugela or from... So it's all just, this is what's happened in the last year and what they're planning for the next year kind of thing. But those aren't the only documents I read. There were other documents I read that turned out to be useless or didn't provide me much information. So I read thousands upon thousands of pages of information.
Sure. Yeah, well, it paid off, I would say. It was a good documentary. The biggest comment we got from people is, it's very informative. And I think that's saying the least. I'm David, fellow director at IntegriPure Newcastle, and that's us.